Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Emotions in the Body podcast. This is episode 4. Um, Today, I want to just kind of recap a little bit and talk about, you know, um, what's connecting all this work and really why would we, why would we want to do this? Why would we want to go into the body when sometimes our bodies can be a source of pain for us? I think what most of us have learned in this culture is to avoid feelings, avoid emotions, avoid uncomfortable sensations in the body. It's kind of what all of our addictions are about, which is avoiding and resisting stuff that we don't understand. And it's a source of the unknown and might just be super uncomfortable. We learn a lot of this stuff from our parents, and it's just perpetuated in the schools and the religions. It's just to, escape this earthly stuff and to not feel what's in our bodies. And although that makes sense, and it's how I operated in a lot of my life in the beginning, I felt like I was completely unaware of my body, like, really acting out, bulimic and overeating and smoking cigarettes and drinking tons and tons of alcohol and, just doing anything you can to get out of the body. I mean, you could say it was fun, but there went past the point where it was fun for sure. It was just, classic escapism. Now, why do we want to escape our bodies? Why don't we want to feel what's here? And that's because we're uncomfortable. Because there's stuff in our bodies that reminds us of painful things or is the byproduct of painful things that happened. Maybe we were hit as a child, shamed, um, just abused in any way. Also, we tend to, it's like when we're growing up, it's like we are marinating in like the vibes of the household. So, especially for empathic, we may have even picked up on stuff, that was going on in the household that have now kind of adopted as our own and are carrying with us. And yeah, I don't have children, and this is not judgment, but from my own experience of both within my own life and also working with people, their experience with their parents or their experience as a parent, it's like unfortunately, but we parents, just don't know how to handle everything. And the child might be a sensitive child, and a well meaning parent just may not have a clue how to handle that child's emotions. And they end up losing their temper and, perhaps hitting them, shaming them, scolding them, anything to kind of get them to like shut up. Just, get like, just shut this kid up. I'm going crazy. And, it's understandable in some ways. It depends to the extent. But even sometimes the subtle things a child learns, like my emotions are not okay. My expression of sadness, my expression of feeling unloved, my frustration, my anger, there's no space for it. And no one wants to listen to me anyway, or perhaps I even get punished when I express it. And we start habits and patterns of holding all that stuff in, and our nervous system can, then just hold on to it, for a long time. And and the patterns that are set in place, just everything just accumulates. So by the time I was 19 and going through a breakup of my first like love, like I was losing it. We had had a big trauma when I was 16 with my father having left the family. So there was a big amount of stuff there that was, you know, I had cried when he left, but it wasn't, it was kind of like, let's get on with it, and just wanted to get out and party with my friends. So by the time I was going through this much more visceral young love breakup, like it was a big deal. And, I it took time, but I eventually needed to learn how to let myself feel what's there because I was just holding it all in. So that's why it's necessary, because stuff accumulates. And if we could avoid it and be okay for the rest of our lives, yeah, that's what we would all choose. But there's something that you learn when you start allowing yourself to connect with what's in your body, what's in your nervous system, the feelings and emotions that are there. Um, is you find that it's very satisfying to own who you are, to own the expression of your feelings. There is such a great satisfaction and like completion of a cycle, because it's just like when a wave is going to crash, it's like you just got to let that happen. So I'm sad and the feelings come to the surface, and then I feel it and I express it, and then it ends, and then like life can go on. But if when I start to feel uncomfortable things, I try to like freeze there, then the rest of the life can't keep happening to the satisfying like capacity that would feel like really good. So yeah, like anger, sadness, frustration, um in the moment, no, it's a challenge, but there is just a completion that allows you to live the life that you're meant to live. There's someone who I listen to, and he says that the soul is trying to talk to you. But when we get stuck in patterns and we resist what needs to happen, then what life is calling from you is not able to be heard, because you're cycling in something that's never got complete. Are you following me? Yeah. So these are all great motivations to keep going and feel what's there, and allow yourself to find some supportive, loving people. Perhaps it starts with a therapist, a counselor, some kind of person like myself that can be present with you with this stuff. And once you realize that all these deeper parts of you can be seen and heard, then you start to trust life more, and you start to let more people in, because you will find that there's more richness in the world than you may have realized when you're living your life like more like tight from not allowing yourself to feel all of what's there. I can feel like a collective cringe, because when we there's a lot of people that just don't want to feel that stuff. Like my husband is an example. Like I think he would be okay with me saying so. Like he just rather not feel this stuff. I feel like I've become an unusual person because I started this work 20 years ago, and I have come to like love my emotions and think it's awesome when I can have a good cry, or really when I get to a frustration and I can finally see what it is and let myself feel it, or journal about it, or punch a pillow. Like I love it. So sometimes I forget that people just don't want to go there. And I do think, unfortunately, it's men more than women have a hard time with it. And I think that's just because of all the cultural programming, that it's not okay. And I think little boys, it's changing now, as we know, but little boys have classically been, taught boys don't cry kind of idea. I think it happens at a certain age that they start getting trained out of their emotions. And it doesn't mean they stop having them. It just means that they become better at holding it in. And later in life, what we have found, now I'm talking totally generally, And as I said, it's changing. But I know my generation for sure, and of course generations before me. I feel like in some ways women have had it easier, that we feel more permission to cry and more permission to talk about it with our friends. And so, there's a beauty in that, as something that makes me, happy to be a woman, that I can find that comfort and community and space to be more present with my feelings. Now, there's one thing, is that women aren't as free to have their anger as men. So it's like men have permission to be angry, and women have permission to be sad. And the opposite is not true. Men don't feel as much permission to feel sad, and women, don't feel permission to release their anger, to express anger. They feel angry, but they may not feel. They're more considered like a bitch if they were to be more forthright with their expression. So, I mean, to have a full emotional life, obviously, we need to deal with that. And so this podcast is about the emotions and the body. It's not just about the emotions. And if I haven't said it yet, that we really need to be connected to our bodies to have the full expression that we desire in our emotions, because we are much more focused in our heads in this culture. So we're thinkers, and we're not as encouraged to feel. Feel. We don't feel in our minds. We feel it in our bodies. It's our whole nervous system that needs to experience um, what's going on. And the one of the really amazing parts that I've learned over time is just how much information we have access to from our visceral, like from the body. Because I can feel really lost sometimes when I'm just in my head. But when I take the time to slow down and notice my body, maybe meditate, when I meditate, it's kind of like like a sensing of myself. So when I can start to slow down and notice what's in there, I get access to information I would not have had. Maybe I realize, that I have pain in my back, and I really wasn't aware of it. I was just kind of feeling irritated, annoyed, tired, frustrated. And when I tune in, I might actually realize, like, oh, I have tension in my low back that I didn't realize was there. And then as I notice the tension in my low back, I might get more information about, like, just some stress I've been feeling like I'm under. Or maybe a memory will come up of something that happened to me, that's the reason why my low back is hurting me. Maybe my low back's been tight for years, and I'm just ignoring it and resisting it. In fact, I've been going through something like this over the past couple of months, and especially recently. I've been doing a new meditation, which is for an hour a day. Now, I know that does sound like a long time. I've done always 15 minutes, but I'm trying something new. And it's been really, really supportive of me. What happened? Oh, I lost sorry. Um, yeah, so I sit with my body. I notice the space around me. I listen to the silence. These are some of the terms I use to kind of get into what I'm feeling. And I actually became super aware of this tension in my sacrum, the lower part of the back, that was really super uncomfortable. And I also became aware that I don't really always notice, like, my lower body. Like, I'm kind of numb. Not numb, like I can walk and everything, but I'm just not aware of it. And so memories of a surgery started to come to the surface. I had a surgery just below my coccyx, which is like the bottom of the sacral bone in the pelvis. And when I was like 19, and I think I've had this weird, I think it's accumulated over time, but I believe that this pattern in my body's been going on since I'm 19. And I think because of the anesthesia, because of just who knows what they cut, like as far as the nerves, because it went pretty deep. Um, I just kind of cut myself off from this part of my body. And now that I've become aware, it's like my body wants to move in a different way. And I don't know, like my breathing is changing. Like it's pretty incredible. The information now I'm getting to have more comfort in my body. And also some memories arose of that time of my life. Because it was a really crazy time in my life, in my family, and with this ex-boyfriend I had, and like, there was a lot of feelings, a lot of darkness, and I had this surgery, and then, it was a very involved recovery. So that stuff's been rising up, but it's good. It's for my benefit. It's to complete things. It's to get to what's next. It's to find like I'm getting a different posture. Like I said, and my breathing is improving, and like I'm getting all these beautiful and maybe subtle benefits, but it's not really that subtle because it's been like an undercurrent in my life of some of the stuff that was connected to this, that in that time of my life. So to me, it's actually been quite profound that even after all the work I've done, that it took this hour-long meditations I've been doing to start to really become aware of this other, these wounds, literal wounds that have affected me deeply. But this is where I'm at with it. In the beginning, when you first start doing the emotional release work, a lot of times it's much more overt things. You start to feel maybe bigger feelings and this subtle kind of energetic stuff I'm feeling from this surgery I had had. So there's just a lot of juicy information in the body. And it does take courage at first. Courage or just your body, your soul is is reaching out to you. And you're very uncomfortable and you know that you haven't gotten the help you've needed. Like I said for myself, I had done 12-step programs, I had done talk therapy, I had done all this body work, and something was still really gnawing at me where I was very uncomfortable. And I was like blessed enough to find that, if I kind of get more deeper in touch with my nervous system, with my feelings, with my sensations, that I would get to the other side. So, I guess that's it for today. Thank you for listening. And just subscribe in any way you can to my podcast or my YouTube. If you're catching me on SoundCloud, you could also find me on YouTube. I usually leave a link, and vice versa. If you see me on YouTube, there's also a SoundCloud podcast when you just only can listen, maybe when you're driving. So, all right, thanks for joining me. See you next time.